Alrighty, it's been a little while since I've done a guide video, so this one's going to be me kind of shaking off the rust a little bit, but still going to be touching new stuff. So this one's going to be doing the DSAnimStudios by Meow Meredith and a ton of other contributors and whatnot. So there is a lot of things you can do with it, but this video we're going to kind of just touch on like how to add a visual effect to an animation. So for the sake of this video also, we're just going to do the katana, like when you sheath the katana, just kind of like add like a little like boom effect. There'll be other stuff you can do as well, but I'm just going to kind of show the process and kind of explain what a few of the little like fields mean and all that. So prerequisites really, what I did is I unpacked the game so I could get files and move stuff into my mod folder, all that kind of stuff. There's also this Elden Ring Google Doc here that has like a bunch of the IDs and all that kind of stuff for the movement animations, skill animations, magic animations, weapons, like all that kind of stuff, and then like the visual effects IDs. So this will also be linked, but it's super helpful for narrowing down IDs for the stuff that you might be wanting to play with or change. So we'll refer to this again in a little bit here, but besides that, I have my mod engine open and my game folder open here, so I'll show you kind of what I did. I went in to my unpacked game directory and I snagged the character model, kind of like any BND right here, the all zeros BND here. Just snag that and I popped it into a character folder in the mod folder. So any changes we make, we're making directly to the mod folder version, not the actual game directory. So if we fuck something up or break something, we're not having to like reinstall or verify files or anything. We can just get rid of this one and replace it with a fresh one or whatever. So with that being done, another tool you could use is the Elden Ring debug tool to kind of like see what animations are playing when you're doing stuff or if things are happening, so you can track stuff down. But the Google spreadsheet narrows down a lot of it for you already, so we'll go ahead and just stick to that for this specific video. We'll go ahead and launch the DSAnimStudio here. I'll go ahead and blow it up a little bit bigger. I don't usually particularly love doing like full screen on stuff because I like to have multiple things on my screen at a time, but for the tutorial here we'll try and keep it real simple like. So once it's open here, we can just go to File, Open, and then you're going to want to navigate to your actual like mod folder. For me, that's in my ER mod stuff, mod engine, mod folder, characters, and then just going to select our AniBND here and click Open on it. It'll pop up like a directory here for you that you're going to have to go in and then select the actual game folder directory, not the mod folder directory, your actual game directory here. So the one that's got the executable in it and all that, and then just do that. I'm not going to touch this optional directory or any of the checkboxes because I'm not doing anything with those. So just go ahead and click Apply. Then we're going to have to wait for this to blow through stuff here as we continue on. So this is just click OK on this one. Okay, so here we are with everything loaded up. There's a lot going on over here on the little preview page, so I'm gonna go in and I'm actually gonna turn those off in the Scene Explorer under Helpers. I'm gonna turn off the dummy polys and IDs. We will be re-enabling those shortly though, because, well, they're gonna be helpful. So on the right here, we got a little preview of kind of like the animations, what's playing out, all that kind of stuff. You'll see more of that as we play with things, but there's that over there. There's a lot of things kind of going on over here in the middle on the tables. For the sake of simplicity and not overwhelming, I'm not going to touch too much on what all of this stuff individually is doing. We're just going to go ahead and get into what you need to do to add a visual effect to an animation. For this instance, what I had mentioned prior was doing the katana, like doing getting sheathed. So we want the unsheath weapon art animation. So I happen to remember what that is because I've already been playing with it. It's 614, but it can be found in the skill IDs list here on the Juicy Elden Ring documentary here. So you can search it with Control F, or you can just scroll through. It's 614, so that's what we're looking for right now. To make it easier to find that, you can Control F in here to search for what you're looking for. What I generally do is I just go into the Edit tab here and I just collapse all of these sections so they're all in order, they're not expanded, so you're not scrolling through nearly as much stuff, and I just kind of whip it out down to wherever it is I need to be. So 614 is where we're going to be hanging out. We'll click on the first idle animation here. Well, not idle. This one is the sheathing animation. So to see what an animation is, you can click on it to bring it up in the preview, and you can click play here. Or you can put your mouse up here, hold down your left click, and then drag it through to see what's going on, like effectively frame by frame or whatever. By default, it will play sounds. You can turn those off. I just leave them on because they don't really bother me, but for bigger booming weapons, you might want those off. But you can see, like right here, there's some stuff for sounds being played. Like it goes through here, and then it, based on what it's over or highlighting and where it's at, it does those functions. So we're not going to touch anything that's currently existing here. This is just the animation for sheathing, the katana for the unsheath animation, and then they kind of go in order here. Like this one right here is just the idle animation of standing still while you're sheathed, and then this one is walking while sheathed, and then this one is unsheathing without attack. This one is going to be the light attack while standing still. And then the next one will be the light attack while moving, and then heavy attack while standing still, and then heavy attack while moving, so on and so forth, for the specific unsheath animation. So for the sake of further simplicity, we're just going to make a single edit here in the action of the weapon being sheathed. So what we will do is we're just going to go down to the bottom here where there's nothing else trying to override anything. We're just going to hold down shift and then right click, and then it will make us a little bar here, a little bit of data that says do nothing. There are options for that you can go through and look at that do different things, serve different functions. For spawning the effects though, we want to go to change right here and go ahead and work our way down to spawn one-shot FFX. That's really kind of where the bulk of like your actual visual effects and things are going to come from. Another one that's really cool is the like bullet behavior stuff. I'm going to make a video specifically on how to add bullet behaviors from like player character animations and stuff to any weapon, and then like how to use like NPC or boss bullets and things like that to your weapons. Those will be separate though. So we're just going to use spawn one-shot FFX here, plop that in here, and there's a couple of things going on right here down in the corner. There's FFX ID, and that's going to be whatever ID you use that's in reference to the effect itself. So like over here, we've got the FFX ID. It's just any of these. That's what these are. That's ID refers to whatever's going on here. Same thing in here. You just plug those in. Dummy poly ID is what the like effectively point of origin is going to be for the effect, like which dummy poly. And then slot ID. Generally, you kind of worry about that when you start getting into using multiple of the same effects on one specific animation. So like if we used 3 of the same exact animation here, the first one would be 0, and then the next one would be 1, and the next one would be 2, and so on and so forth for however many you use, because if they're all the same slot ID, it will only use one of them because it's reading just one slot. So that makes sense, right? And then these, I will kind of touch on these when we add the effect itself, just so it's all kind of cohesive. But I want the effect that we're gonna add to be like right when the sword kind of like sinks into the sheath all the way. So we're just gonna navigate here and see, turn it a little bit here so we can kind of see where that like real nice little like chunk right here-ish kind of seems like a pretty good location for that. So I want the effect to start there, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it to kind of start right around that point here with the black line, so it kind of lines up with that animation. The effect that I want to do is kind of like it's like when Astel like slams his hand down, it kind of has like that like boom of darkness that comes down like a slam. So I kind of want that because I think it's cool and I've used it, so I know which one it is. So I'm gonna just come into the dock here. I'm just gonna grab it right here. As you can see, I already copied it because I kind of did a run through of this already. Just copy that ID, and then I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna slap that in right here. And then for dummy poly ID, so we're gonna set the origin point of the effect that's gonna happen. I want it to be kind of like more maybe in here where it kind of is like a center character kind of on the ground, like the boom comes through, kind of comes off the ground. So we're gonna want to figure out what dummy poly that is. So to do that, we're gonna come up to Window, Scene Explorer, and then under Helpers here, it's a little drop down. You can click to enable your dummy polys and the IDs for said dummy polys. There's a lot going on there, really makes it quite a mess. But it's not too hard to navigate. So I'm gonna just kind of zoom in here. I'm gonna look at these different ones that are down in the center here. 260 looks like it's kind of the most centered, just kind of like origin point to use there. So I'm just gonna use 260, and then so you just plug that in right here under dummy poly ID. And you can see like this arrow is now lit up because it's being referenced by the effect there. The arrow is kind of just pointing to the direction that the effect is going to can follow, more or less. For like big booms, it's not really a huge thing. So we're gonna leave that alone, not really worry about that. That's added info for you, just to kind of confuse you. Slot ID, we're not going to touch that because this is the only effect of its kind that we're going to be putting in right here, so it doesn't matter. Restrict to dummy poly. Basically what that means is when you make the effect pop up, it will disappear when that dummy poly is not being like called effectively for the action here. So like for the duration of this span of time here, the effect will like be called to that dummy poly. If you don't do that, sometimes it will literally just make the effect stay wherever you activated it. So, you know, like imagine buffing your weapon with lightning, and then the moment you take a step or move the weapon, the spot in the air where the weapon was buffed just is still showing like the crackling lightning, but your sword no longer has it because it's not tracking it. So, and then it stays there forever. Just never despawns. So that's what this is doing. It's restricting it to actually disappear when it's not being used anymore, and then follow dummy poly. I mean, makes sense, right? Follows the dummy poly, and then ignore dummy poly angle. It kind of makes sense, right? You just read it, you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So that's more or less all you really have to do on this side of things, just to have an actual effect pop up. But I'll show you what that looks like inside of the game here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just load that up real quick, and then we'll talk in a sec. All right, so we're all loaded in the game, but one of the things I wanted to touch on really quick was the saving and like hot loading function of this. So up under file here, there's a little check right here you can click. Just makes it so the game will hot load the changes that you make in here every time you save. So I have that clicked because it's handy. And then what we'll do is we're just gonna go ahead and click save here. And I don't know if you saw right under the bottom there, the actual like my character model. Oops. my character model disappeared really quickly. Here. So every time you save and you do the hot load, it'll make your character go and then phase back into existence. So that's how you know that it's actually doing what you're wanting it to do. So here we are in the game. We're literally gonna just do the action that we made the change to. So sheath. Right when that goes in, boop, boop. So pretty easy peasy in terms of that kind of thing. One thing to note though, the visual effects do not do any sort of damage. So if you want to do damage, you're going to have to add an attack behavior or a hitbox or like a bullet behavior or anything like that. But fortunately for you, that is on the docket for the next video. So big shout out to my homie Rainer. Here's his channel. Go check it out. Sub to it. He does some guides too, and he helped me get my gears rolling again in my noggin after being away for a while and picking this up. So props to him, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one, guys.